Scribe is a hip hop artist from British Columbia. He's a father. He works with youth and has for many years. And also, I think it's tacos, right? He super loves tacos. Did I get that right? Yes, of course. Yes. Everyone loves, well, maybe not everyone, but most people I know love tacos.
If you don't like tacos, we need to talk.
Yeah, we need to talk if you don't. He's going to share a little bit about kickstarting gratitude and giving. But first of all, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I am a recording artist currently based in the lower mainland of BC. I'm just outside of Vancouver in like a little suburb called Cloverdale. I grew up in Regina, Saskatchewan, spent most of my life there. From there, I moved to Winnipeg, and I lived in Winnipeg for about 5 years. But I was born in Kingston, Jamaica. I was adopted when I was around a year and a half or so. And yeah, like I said, raised in Saskatchewan. And so my worldview is very like super diverse. And I think that's one of the things that I have loved so much about ministry and the years that I've been getting to do ministry. I've been doing, I would say, really taking it serious and actively since about 2014. Before then, it was just like trying to make cool music that it was rough. Yeah, now my wife and I, we are serving in a church out here called Love Quest International. I'm serving as one of the worship leaders. I'm also one of our, I help with our albums and those sorts of things that we're creating, but I'm also a youth worker. So I work with an organization called Plea Community Services. And so I operate as a youth support worker. And then I also work with Apologetics Canada one day out of the week as a podcast host and our social media guy, helper, that sort of thing. I'm not going to say analyst because I don't know none of that stuff, but yeah, so I'm doing multiple things. I'm a father. I have 2 kids. I have a 3-year-old, and my son is about to be 4 months. And I have been married it'll be 6 years right away. So it's I got a lot going on, and I love every bit of it. I'm just continuing to learn and grow, and I'm trying to make a lot of music this year. So that's what I currently got going on.
Cool. Yeah, sounds like a lot of different things. That's cool to see all the different spaces and places that God has you in right now. Why don't you tell us, our theme is overcome. Tell us about one of the greatest challenges that you have overcome in your life.
That I've overcome. Oh, man.
Or maybe currently overcoming.
No, I got you. No, one of the greatest things I think I overcome was this feeling that I needed to be a finished product to be effective. For a lot of years, different challenges that I'd have in life, whether it was things to do directly with identity or, things with family or friendships, all of those things. There was this level of, in me recognizing that I was a leader, that I wanted to influence people with, my platforms. I thought that I had to have it all sorted out to be effective. And so I was really hard on myself a lot. Like I used to call myself my own worst critic. And that's been something that I have had to really work through because that's just not the way that God sees me. And, when I look at scripture, and this is the biggest thing for me was allowing the scriptures to really show me who God was calling me to be. It was like he took a whole bunch of crooked sticks and made straight lines. He found a whole bunch of imperfect people and used them for his glory to do major things. But the requirement was not perfect. The requirement was obedient. And so I think that's probably the biggest thing that I've overcome.
Wow. Yeah, I think a lot of us can relate to that, wanting to achieve that perfection and really beating ourselves up when we fail. Because of course, we all fail, but I can definitely relate to that too. You mentioned relating with some of the stories of people in the Bible as one way that helped you overcome that challenge. Is there any other ways you'd like to touch on that helps you overcome that challenge?
I think just very practically surrounding myself with people that I can share my burdens with and my dreams. It's really important to have people around you that are going to, they're going to listen to your challenges, they're going to listen to your struggles, but in listening, those same people listening to your dreams, it helps them hold you accountable, right? Because God never called me to be perfect, but he definitely didn't ask me to stay where he found me. And you need to have people around you who are going to challenge you, who are going to encourage you. Um, People who aren't going to judge you for falling in a pit, but aren't just going to sit in there and wallow with you. They're going to challenge you, they're going to compel you, and ultimately, this phrase gets overused, but turn into the best person you could possibly be. I know that sounds really cliche, but ultimately that person is in the direction of someone who's following Christ and consistently pursuing that. That's really been huge for me, is getting myself under godly accountability, from my pastors to my close friends to my wife. Like, I think about, even very practically in music, I could be recording a song and I'll be sitting in the studio like, oh, and I'll show my wife and she'll be like, mm, mm. And even just that, like, I'm just like, oh, wait a minute, what was that? And she'll just simply say, it's good, but it's not your best. I don't think you're, I think you can do better. And you're like, okay, like, okay, it was really good, but like, but even something as simple as that, because I know she's right, because every time I go back and retry it or re-record it or scrap it altogether, um, it ends up being for the better. And so that's just a really big one for me, is I'm huge on accountability and godly counsel and relationships.
Yeah, that's huge. Got to have those people in our lives that will support us, but also challenge us to be better.
Yeah.
And how would you say that practicing gratitude helps you overcome your challenges, as kind of the theme for tonight?
Hmm. Man, practicing gratitude keeps you from being bitter and jealous, like, flat out. If the more we're saying, we're just being grateful and thankful for the things that we have, it takes your eyes off of what's in the next yard. You know what I mean? Because I may look at this guy that has a mansion and I'm like, oh man, that thing's beautiful. I wish I had a mansion. But then you sit down with these people, which I have, and you ask them what it takes for them to upkeep the mansion, pay for the mansion, keep the people happy in a mansion. It's all these things that sometimes we think the grass is greener, but we don't know what it took to keep that grass so green. And so, just being grateful for the position that the Lord has you, is really sobering, because it's easy to look at, something that somebody else has, but you have no idea what they sacrificed, or what they sacrifice for that, and you're here coveting and desiring something that, man, you don't have the spine to deal with, let alone the resource, for example.
Yeah, that's huge. I like that. Simply put, keeps us from being bitter and jealous. I can see that in my life when I start feeling those feelings of bitterness and jealousy, how effective gratitude and being thankful has helped suppress those things and bring better things out in me. Another thing we're talking about tonight is generosity. So maybe you could share a little bit with us how you practice generosity in your life.
Yeah, I am very much someone who, like, if someone has blessed me with something, I believe I have been blessed to be a blessing. And so I'm that guy that, like, and nobody go in the comments and all of a sudden asking me for stuff. So let's just get that out the way. But I am that guy who, I've had people show up to me at a concert and they're like, "Hey man, I like your hat," and it doesn't always happen, but sometimes I'm just like compelled, like, "Here, man, take it." Like, it's, here you go. And there's obviously wisdom in that, because you're not trying to just manipulate a situation to make it look like, oh, woe is me, or put yourself in a place of being manipulated, by your generosity. But very practically, it's just everything that the Lord has given me, I hold with an open hand, and he can add to it, or he can take it away, or if it has to be taken away or put down, or whatever it is, the word says the blessing of the Lord is without sorrow. So if the Lord has given it to you, then it's not going to come with a burden. It's not going to be cumbersome, for you to for you to walk in whatever that is. It may have its challenges, but yeah, just very practically for me, it's just see a need, fill a need, and do it early, because old man is always around the corner saying, "Hey, man, you could just keep that for you, and we could be on our way." But it's paying attention to some of those first promptings. And again, this is why I say it comes back to accountability, because you need godly people around you who'd be like, "Yo, that's great, you're doing that, but you got to relax, because you could put your family in jeopardy. You could put your ministry in jeopardy if you're not being generous with wisdom."
Generous with wisdom. That's a good one to think on. Well, we have one more question, and I would like to encourage everyone, if you have any further questions for Scribe, we'll have a couple minutes after this last question for him to answer those. So put them in the chat. The final question, we talked about generosity, we talked about gratitude. What practices would you suggest trying to help us cultivate a spirit of gratitude in our lives?
Whoa, that's a good one. One of the best things is taking a look at the word stewardship. So the word stewardship essentially means taking care of the things that you have been trusted with, the things that you have, the things you've been given. And one of the practical ways for me is, what have I been given and how am I using it to its full potential? I was challenged just the other day by this idea that it is just as prideful for me to go and flaunt all the things I may have as it is for me to deny using what is at my fingertips, because it's not, may not be up to top tier. And so one of the practical things you can do is look at what you have around you. We're in the age where people want to be these social media stars, and you can actually make a lot of money from that sort of thing. But people are like, "Oh, I can't do it unless I have a camera." But in order for you to properly do those things, you have to set a certain level of what's the term escaping me? Oh my gosh, you have to have a certain level of work ethic. That's the word I'm looking for. You need to have a work ethic first, right? I can't say like, "Oh, once I get this super expensive camera, then I'm going to make really, the best content." It's like, if the Lord gave you an iPhone and you feel compelled to get on there and share the gospel with people with an iPhone 4, do it. You know what I mean? Because it's one of those things where God can't add to something that you're not willing to use already. That's being very close-fisted. And so steward what you have. Look around, be creative, exercise the creativity. We serve the Creator. And so, yeah, very, very practically, steward what you have. Use what is at your fingertips, and don't be afraid to experiment. Don't be afraid to do it differently than other people will, because some of the biggest, most successful people were told they were crazy. Like, they were told they were insane, and now, and it's not always, it has to do with finances, but now some of them are running these multi-million-dollar companies, or they're these high level influencers, or they started a church and it's impacting their community, even though people said you could never plant a church here, right? So it's just using what's at your fingertips.
That's so cool. Well, we will take 2 super quick questions. One, someone asked what the name of the podcast is that you facilitate.
Yeah, the podcast is called the AC Podcast by Apologetics Canada. So if you go to apologeticscanada.com, you can follow the links directly from there. You can look up Apologetics Canada podcast on all streaming platforms. That's like Spotify, Apple Music, the whole nine. We're on all of those. And yeah, so I'm one of the hosts. I'm not on every single episode because there's 3 of us, and so most of the time there'll be 3 different hosts. There'll be 3 of us working together usually, but sometimes one of them will do an interview with somebody else or whatever. So, but it's really good. It's all from a place of looking at the things that are going on in the world, looking at scripture and approaching those things, being willing to challenge some ideas, challenge some things from a very respectful place.
Cool. Yeah, check that out, everyone. Apologetics Canada. Caitlin put that in the chat. And to close off, someone asked, what inspired you to make music?
Man, the Lord showed me the value of my story. And it's really that simple. I used to not think that I had a lot of value because of how much of a, feeling like a screw up, feeling unwanted. Again, coming back to my identity, I never thought I could influence anybody. And as I started just sharing my story with people day to day, I would see how many people were like, "Wow, man, like that really, that really impacted my life. That really challenged me," or I'm encouraged, or "Wow, I didn't realize you were adopted," or "I'm adopted too, and how do you deal with it? How do you?" And it was just literally things like that. I just would share my story, and then I realized I really like hip hop. So let's just combine them and see what happens. And if I fall flat on my face, it's all good. But at the end of the day, it was I tried, and that's fine. So that's all there is to it for me.
Yeah, thank you so much. That was all so inspiring. Practicing gratitude, practicing generosity, the value of your story. Thank you so much for sharing, again, obviously, your story with us tonight and the inspiration and encouragement that we get from that, and hopefully to move more into our lives and how God has made us to be. Maybe give a reaction if you got one to Scribe, some love in the chat, or reaction on Zoom, just to celebrate and thank you for being here. We are now going to head to our small groups.